James Sherry here for CATV. There's three important elements to cricket: batting, bowling and fielding. I'd like to introduce you to fielding coach Michael Young.
How you doing? In September of 1981, I came to Australia and ironically enough, I'd never seen a cricket. And I tell people this all the time when I do talks and stuff. Not only had I never seen a cricket match, I didn't know the sport existed. I came over to run the Queensland baseball team and to play. I was still playing. And then I ended up being the Olympic coach for Australia. And about 20 years later, John Buchanan, he was coaching the Bulls, came to me and said, have you ever seen anything in cricket that you think baseball can transfer over? And I said, I saw a lot of things that I thought might work, but the reality was I wasn't so pretentious to say that I knew that because I didn't know all the intricacies of cricket. So we met for lunch and the 1 hour turned into 3. I'd coached my whole life in bat and ball sport, and the sports are very similar in many ways. I'll give you a very quick story. Darren Lehman, okay, it was at a test match, and Darren Lehman was at the Gabba, and balls were hit to him, and he was going in the opposite direction. I said, what's wrong with this guy? So I'm thinking something's wrong with him, when in fact, what it was, there was a red sign behind him. He couldn't see the ball. Now you see, I would have never seen that. By being down on the field, you get a better perspective on things. I believe most of your mistakes, well, I know most of your mistakes on balls that you miss and things like that are your first 2 steps. But you don't see that on TV all the time. I've learned one thing: no matter what the sport is, it's all about keeping it simple. I mean, we got thousands of drills, we got thousands of resources and boards and nets, but the reality is it's all about vision and balance. And I don't care what sport it is, if you're watching the ball, you got a real good chance. And if you're balanced, you got a chance to be a good athlete. But I believe catching in the slips in Test cricket is the hardest thing to do mentally. It's hard physically, but it's the hardest thing to do mentally in all of sport. They're up and down all day long, potentially 2 days. Hopefully not too many times we're on the field 2 days, but potentially 2 days. And they might get one catch, and that catch might be a one-handed dive. Listen, that is unbelievably hard. And as a professional coach, I see that and I understand that. So when a guy drops a ball, I never ever make comment.
In the time that you've been working with the Australian cricket team, what percentage of improvement would you say there has been in their fielding skills?
Well, I hope there's been some. I've seen some, especially individual players I could point out. But I think overall, it's just that my lack of background in the game brings a different perspective. I'm able to look at the game with more of an open mind. And I am sure, and I've said this many times, I'm sure that cricket people, if they went to America and saw baseball, would say, why do they do that if they did it this way? It's just, when you really think about it, it's just a natural thing.
I think one of the other beautiful things you've brought to the game, Mike, is the knee.
Go down on one knee?
I like it when you bring the knee to the game.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a story behind that. In 2003 World Cup, I was out on the boundary for my first time, and the ICC came to me and said, what are you doing? And of course, I didn't know all the laws, and I thought, oh, I'm not allowed. No, you can be there, but will you do us a favor? When you go down on one knee, will you do so in between the sponsors' boards? Because sometimes the camera's on you and you're blocking the sponsor. I said, oh, okay. So now I had to look for the crease in between the sponsors' boards and go down on my one knee.
This is James Sherry and Michael Young for CATV.